In this first video, I'm going to show you how to prepare the laser cut parts for assembly. And there's three things which we've got to do to each one of these parts before we can assemble it with all of the other components that lock into them. The first thing is we're going to take the backing off each of them, so just peel the paper off. So every single part is going to have this paper on one side of it. In some parts it'll have a clear plastic, so look closely at the parts. If it looks like it doesn't have any backing on the back, just make sure that you haven't got a part with a clear plastic backing on it. So once we've taken all of the backing off, we're going to do some tapping. Now tapping just means we're going to be putting a thread in so that we can bolt a little bolt into it. And you'll see on each of these parts there's a mark scored into the surface. These ones say M3. In some cases there'll be an M5. So you'll need two taps, an M3 and an M5 tap to do this. And then the third thing we're going to do is countersink some of these other holes. So there's little rings. I've pre-countersunk them with the laser cutter. So I've just laser cut these rings at increasing depth towards the hole, just so that when we use the countersink, that it easily cuts the material away. So I'm going to start by just peeling this backing off. Second thing I'm going to do is now tap these holes. So this is an M3 tap. It's got a M3 by 0.5mm thread, I think it is. And now there's two ways we could do this. We could use a little handle, a manual handle like this. And we're just going to put it close to the end. Now you'll notice these little square bits there, they slot into that hole there. And just do that up nice and tight so there's no movement. And we're going to use this little tapping jig. It's really important that each one of these holes is square, like the tap goes in square. And by using this tapping jig, it just means that it actually is going to go in square every single time. So if you can see that, I just hold the tapping jig nice and flush on that surface and then start winding it in. Now typically you do 2 winds forward, 1 wind back. That's for aluminium or for metals. It's to clear the swarf out of the thread. But with this plastic, I don't really bother to go backwards. So let's pull that out. Now that should then take a little socket head screw like that. Now that's the slow way of doing things. The fast way of doing things is to use your drill. Now this is a little bit more precarious because things can go wrong. I would suggest starting off doing a bit of practicing first before on the practice jig that's in the kit. Again, we want the tapping jig on here. Now it's really important not to bottom the tap out because that will actually strip the thread right out. So we just got to be really careful when we're doing this. But same deal, keep that nice and square, forwards and backwards, job done. Just check that I've got all of those. Okay, that's done. So now the third thing we're going to do is countersink all of these holes. Now I'd highly recommend getting one of these countersinks. This is a cutting, it's got a single cutting edge on it. So I'm just going to pop that on there and get it as square to the surface as I possibly can. And just run the drill until it starts making a little bit of a ribbon like that. If you can see that. Once it's done that, then it's cleared all of the little laser cut bits or laser cut rings. There we go. Makes that little ribbon. Now it's important that we don't get these crooked, so it'd be good if you can just take care in doing this. It will make a difference to how the screw or the bolt sits in the part beneath it. But now this should sit nice and flush to that surface. Now this part is ready to be assembled with other parts.